We are back here on Sports Talk, and man, you hear the music. The crazy train has never been crazier with what's been going on with El Paso Locomotive FC. Hi, everybody. Steve Kaplowitz back with you. Adrian brought us across the glass, and it's time now for the Mark Lowry Show, where we spend an hour talking Locomotive FC with the head coach and technical director of the club here in El Paso. And first off, it's great to have you back, Mark. I feel like I haven't seen you in months. So it's great to have you back with us on the show. And we got so much to cover and talk about over the next hour. What a run it has been for you and this club. Unbelievable.
Yes, Steve, it's good to be back. It's been a long time, like you said, and I feel like we've had 100 games since we last spoke. I can't even remember what game we were leading up to the last time I was on the show. But since then, yeah, a lot of good performances, a lot more points on the board, a lot more goals scored. So it's been fun.
You know, you're 16 matches into the regular season, and I kind of look of where you were after the first 8 and then where you've been in the second 8. And I really thought that the defense has been terrific throughout the year, but we were always waiting to see that offense come alive. That was kind of the storyline through those first 7 or 8 matches. And then since then, that's exactly what we've seen. I think I counted 16 goals in your last 8, plus 5 in the last 2 matches. So it's pretty obvious now that the offense is starting to really come alive. And this holds very true with what you've been preaching from day one. When we spoke to you right before the first ever match of the Locomotive back in 2019, you told us that you build a team inside out and that offense is usually the last to come around. And it's been really that's held true all 3 seasons. But this year, the offense has really exploded out of the gate in the last 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, that's right, Steve. Scoring a lot of goals lately and having fun doing it as well. We've got some really exciting attacking players on the field these days. You know, Diego, Sebastian, Dylan, Lucho, Leandro, Aaron. I mean, you know, those names, they kind of come off the tongue and you're like, wow, this is a great attacking corps and players that can score, create, dribble. And, you know, it's taken us 3 years to really put that type of group of attackers together, guys that fit the system, are willing to sacrifice themselves for the team and work hard and not just be goal scorers, but do the defensive work that's needed by everyone on the field. And we've got the players now and they're starting to get the rewards and it's fun to watch. It really is.
It's unbelievable to watch, and the fans are loving it, especially those that have traveled with you. You know, you've had matches in Austin, you've had matches in San Antonio and Albuquerque. You're going back to Albuquerque this weekend, and you've got a good traveling party. I got to say, we talk about this a lot, okay, because I've been through UTEP for 20-something years. You know, you look at Chihuahuas baseball and all the other sports we have in El Paso. But you would probably say that there is no more loyal, diehard fan base of any club in this city than what you will get with Locomotive FC. They come out, they're diehards, they're loyal, and, you know, you just can't say enough about great supporters like that.
Yeah, it's good to know when we go on the road, particularly for the games in Texas or, you know, New Mexico, which is not that far, or when we go to Phoenix, place like that, they're there with us. And San Antonio, a couple of weeks ago, we had a great group in the crowd and we got a win for them. New Mexico a couple of weeks ago, they were up there as well singing and you could hear them and, you know, acknowledging them after the game and spending that moment with them and letting them know that we appreciate their support home and away. It really is what football's all about and it shows the strength of the club and the community.
Now, take me back, following the loss to RGV, which is your only loss this season, back on June 30th, you come back and then 3 days later, you host New Mexico United. And that is really when this streak started. And the play has been outstanding. Was there one particular moment or turning point as you look back on this and where you could really see the team's evolution start to come alive and suddenly all those early draws that you were getting started to turn into wins and 3 points?
Yeah, I think that loss in a way to RGV helped us. I mean, losing can be a good thing sometimes if you learn from it and it, you know, motivates you to be better and to not let that happen again. All those kind of emotional factors can really be a positive. And we took that out of the game. We started well in the season, then we have that loss to RGV at a time when, we were doing well and we didn't want that one loss to really kind of put a block or a roadblock in our way. We wanted to continue on this upward trajectory. And so we looked and we were like, look, we've got to come together even stronger now and build from this and turn this loss into a positive and, galvanize us almost. And since then we've been stronger. So I do think that loss played a part. And I know you never want to lose, but it can if it comes at the right time and you use the things from the game that you can improve on and bring to the table the next day and get better from it, then it can help you. And I think from them we realized, look, the midfielders, you got to start helping us score goals. It's not just on the forwards. We need our midfielders to contribute going forward. And since then, you've seen, Chap and Nick, Brian, Diego, Dylan, Velasquez, all those guys now contributing and really driving the team forward. And it's been great to see. So I do think the loss in a way was not a bad thing for us.
No, and yet the one thing that happened in that match that we never see is, losing is one thing, but I'd almost say that in 3 seasons, I can't even count the number of times that you've ever given up 3 goals in a match. That is almost unheard of. And that's really a testament to you and how you've built this team because you're so solid defensively. If you give up 1, okay, 2, it happens every so often. But 3, it's almost like it's unheard of. That never happens around here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it doesn't happen very often to us. It happens a lot in this league. Teams in this league don't seem to defend very well. But for us, that's not who we are. We defend incredibly well. We're very stingy defensively. We don't concede many shots, many goals. We have the best defensive record in the league again this season. So to concede 3 goals, it was disappointing. How those goals went in as well was very uncharacteristic. So we learned from that, and we demanded from each other that it would never happen again. We challenged each other that would never happen again as a group, and since then we've just gone from strength to strength.
You mentioned Sebastian a little while ago when you were talking about all of your talent, all your midfielders. And Sebastian Velasquez is someone that you've added since we've last spoken. And yet he's a familiar face and name to Locomotive FC fans from his first season here and what he meant to the team that year. And you brought him back and he knows the system. He knows you. He knows half the team because they're all guys that he played with when he was first here. And it seems like he has had a pretty seamless transition right back to your club.
Yeah, it's been good to have him back. Like you said, he's familiar with a lot of guys in the locker room. It's a great locker room. It really is. I mean, these guys are completely bought into one another, committed to each other on a daily basis. So he's coming into a different locker room though. There's some familiar faces, but the strength and the character in this locker room right now is very different to what it was, 2 years ago when he was here in 2019. So that was one thing we told him. We said, look, we want you back. We know you're a good player, but you're coming into a different team now. This team's built a little bit differently to what it was 2 years ago. It's stronger, more mentally tough. You got characters in there, and there's really no starters on this team. No one's the star, right? We've got 22 guys that all contribute, whether it's from the start or off the bench. It's irrelevant to me. And they're coming on and they're winning games for us and they're playing well and they're working hard. And you're coming into a locker room now where we're not relying on 1 or 2 players. So if you can buy into that and be part of this team, then you'll do great here again.
Absolutely. And by the way, despite the fact that there's no stars on this team, and I agree with you, and that seems to be why we never really see a lot of Locomotive players nominated for Players of the Week by USL. Yet, despite all that, Dylan wins an award earlier this year. And then you look at Lucho, and he was most recently another winner of Player of the Week. So it's good to see that some of the guys are getting the recognition that they deserve. But take this past weekend, for example, 3 goals, 3 different players, and it almost makes it impossible to try to pick one out that would get Player of the Week honors. So that seems to be the whole theme this season, Coach. You got a team, and there's no I in team, especially when you talk about this group here in El Paso.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what championship teams do. Teams that win championships, no matter what the sport is, everyone's pulling the same direction. One player can't carry a team to a championship. One player can win you 1 game, but over the course of 32 games, it requires everybody. And it's something we speak about on a daily basis. It's something we're trying to foster here and develop here. And over the 3 years, it's got better. Each season, it's got stronger. And that characteristic of putting the team first has got stronger. And I think we're really seeing it this season.
You look at a guy like Lucho Soloneck and how he has really come alive for you over, this 8-game stretch. We knew he had creative ability offensively, but now that we're starting to see that come into play, it's really made a huge impact on this club. And by the way, we just watched one of the most recent goals scored by Leandro Carrillo that you mentioned from Saturday night. That was the third and final goal near the very end of the match. It was a beautiful play shot. And again, this plays into exactly what you talked about earlier. You get a veteran like Carrillo who can come on for the last 15 minutes of a match or even less than that, fresh legs. He's a finisher. And when you have opportunities like we saw Saturday, he also had a free kick that he airmailed over the net. But then he comes back a little bit later and finds that perfectly placed shot to score the third goal against Austin.
Yeah, and Leandro's been great for us. Look, he's 35, 36 years of age now, right? We play a very dynamic system, requires a lot of running. He's not able to do it for 90 minutes. So he's a very intelligent player, very experienced player, and he's a goal scorer, like you said. So those last 15 minutes when he comes on with his game intelligence to help us see out games, and whether he's scoring goals or helping us defend or taking the ball into the corner and killing 2-3 minutes, it's all part of winning games. And he's been incredible at that for us this season. Incredible.
You see that embrace right there that you had with him after he scored. You could see how excited he was. And that's the thing I love about him. He's a guy that you could tell, he scored so many goals over the years at FC Juarez. He wants to just do the same thing here with your club. And how great is it that the first person that embraces him is Diego Luna, the youngest player. So they had a beautiful little give and go exchange before that last goal. And then he is right there to meet Carrillo. So you've got the young meeting the new in that last goal. You couldn't draw that up any better, Coach.
It's great to see. And you see like every single player getting involved in celebration. The guys recognize how important Leandro is to this group and how much he deserves that goal. He comes on, like I said, almost every game towards the end and helps us see it through. Doesn't always get the accolades or the recognition or the goals that he deserves. So when he does score, everyone's just excited for him. You see the emotion. Even Mishak ran over there. I think Logan, if he could have ran out of his goal that far, but everyone was so happy for him. It was a great moment.
Absolutely right. And in that match, you get big production from guys like Dylan Mayers and what he's been able to do. And then starting it off, Andrew Fox, what a header that got it going in the second half. You come out of the gate, you dominate the first half, you get 11 shots, but you're not able to put any into the back of the net. And then all of a sudden, the pressure continues. You score 3. Foxy gets it going. Probably the most offensively dominated performance we've seen, not just this year, but it could be the best offensive performance we've seen in 3 years from your club.
Yeah, and Austin are a tough team defense. They really are. They have a good defensive record, experienced players, so breaking them down is not easy. So it takes time. We knew the first half, we would have a lot of possession, a lot of shots, we'd have a lot of territory in their half. We knew that, but we knew it wouldn't be easy to break them down. But if you keep banging on the door and keep banging on the door, eventually it falls down. And that's what happened with this goal. And from this goal, the floodgates open and we got the second and third. That's generally how these games go. You have to just be patient, be disciplined in your work and not concede to the other end, because they get one goal, they're able to kind of hold that lead. So be strong defensively and wait for your moment.
Perfectly placed header. The fans went nuts. You're watching the reaction of the fans. They're loving every minute of it because, I'll say this. The beauty of the second half is you score right in front of section 105. So they go crazy, and they were able to see 3 of those from you on Saturday night.
Yeah, we love scoring in front of them. We love rewarding them for the singing and the chanting they do for the whole 90 minutes. The guys love celebrating with them, and it was for different reasons. It was an even more emotional game on Saturday with the loss of a key member of the eighth notch, Rico. So for the guys to do that, give them some love back. It's a beautiful moment.
I'm happy you mentioned Rico, an emotional moment for the fans. They had the blue beards in memory of him. The players knew, they were saluting and paying tribute to him as well. Foxy got it started. And then, of course, late in the match, when the fans all started turning their flashlights on their phones, that was also, I thought, a really nice tribute to Rico late in that match.
Yeah, I mean, and as well as anyone, Steve, every event we've had, all the coaches shows at the Brass Monkey and those places. He was there. Everything we did. I mean, he obviously stood out because of his beard, but he was one of the biggest fans of this club, not just at games, at every event we had. So really sad to lose him, but his memory lives on, and we have to get out on that field and fight from every single game now.
No doubt about it. Somebody else you can dedicate the season to now, the memory of Rico. That's a great way to put it. All right, we got a lot more to cover on the show today. If you've got questions, you can send them to us right now via Twitter at 600 ESPN El Paso. We've got Coach Lowry with us for the remainder of the hour. We'll continue our discussion in a moment, but first let's go to Charlie One and get this traffic update. As we continue here on the Mark Lowry Show, Steve Kaplowitz along with the coach, head coach, technical director of El Paso Locomotive FC, Mark Lowry. We're talking about this team's performance, how strong it's been, and a lot of the factors why. And we really spent a little time on that big win, 3-0, shutting out Austin, which was, again, more and more confidence. That was right after a 2-0 win against San Antonio FC last Wednesday. And before that, a 3-1 win against the Real Monarchs. So you look at that right there, Coach, and we're talking about what, 8-1 in terms of goals scored versus given up in the last 3 matches. So really, it seems like you're heating up on both ends. Confidence right now is sky high, and it's exactly where you want the team to be. And then you finally get a few days to rest and recover, which I know is nice because you've been playing so much action over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we just come off the 5-game stretch in 14 days, which in our sport is very difficult. A game every 3 days. But we have a great squad, good depth this year, so we're able to rotate guys through, give guys a break and a rest even through those games. And the performance didn't drop. We still had to pick up wins, with different lineups on the field. So, the squad we have enabled us to do that this season. So it's great to see. And we get, back to a little bit of a normal traditional schedule of, Saturday games for the next few weeks. But looking into October, we have a pile up of games again, which we're going to have to navigate as a group. Absolutely
right. By the way, you look at some of the goals that were scored. There was Jose Aguinaga, the 100th goal of Locomotive FC. How about that? You're midway through season number 3, and that's a milestone, the 100th goal. Yeah, it was a great goal as well, watching it again, looking back. I mean, great team play down the left there with Diego and Adair Borelli, and, good numbers in the box. It's a good goal for us to score. 100th goal in, I don't know the exact amount of games, but I would guess that's in probably about 60, 70 games, something like that. So not a bad record. We keep on pushing for more goals over the next 100. Absolutely right. By the way, speaking of Diego, he scored a goal to begin the action. It seems like he's always around the net when big things happen. He joined us on one of our recent shows a couple of months back, and you could tell he admitted he likes to score. He likes to make plays. That's his, that's really his style. And it really hasn't taken very long for Diego Luna to come in and assert himself as one of the best young players in all of the USL. Absolutely. And he's been such a great asset to this team in so many ways, and watching him play, it's fun, and he's such a good footballer. And look, the game's about scoring goals the other day. That's how you win a game of football, by scoring goals. And he has the desire to go and do that, and the ability to go and do it. And he wants to score goals and make plays. And at the end of the day, that's what good players do. So he's proven to be a very, very good player in this league. Very good. On the flip side, again, the defense has been spectacular. Logan Ketterer is, one of the best you're going to find anywhere. And we saw that in his call up to MLS earlier this season. He's been so steady for you in that. You lead all of USL in clean sheets. I know you take pride in that. You have 9 right now to be atop the league. So in addition to having the most points in 37, you've got the most clean sheets. I mean, realistically for you, would you say that this season is probably going, I don't want to say better than you expected, but is this about as good as you could be asking for right now as coach of your club? Or are there still things you want to see worked out over the next few weeks and months? Yeah, we still want to improve and get better. If we concede 1 goal, it's too many, right? That's kind of how we look at it. We want to win every game we can.
So there's always room for improvement. So we stay focused on that. But I think where we're at right now is just an accumulation of what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. I think looking at just this season as an isolated season, it doesn't paint the real picture. I think what you're seeing right now is 2.5 years of work and you know, the belief and the principles that we work to every single day for 2.5 years. You're now seeing it executed at a higher level, and it takes time. It really does. You know, first season we were good. Second season we're a little bit better. Third season we're even better than that. And that's the way football should be. I mean, you should never stand still, and you should never go backwards as a club and a team. And we've found a way every year to get slightly better. And you're just seeing now an accumulation of 2.5 years of hard work.
You know, what's interesting too, though, you've had to deal with adversity through the first 2 seasons. And I think that after last year, you probably decided that should something happen here in year 3, you want to make sure that you're so deep that you can absorb a couple of blows, even if they're key blows. And that's something that I know when you were putting your roster together, you told me quality over quantity. You wanted to make sure that from top to bottom, you have a roster filled of players that where anybody can start and contribute in any way at all times. And that's something that we've really seen from your club as you've had to juggle the rosters a little bit more with these 2 games or 3 games in 1 week stretch. And you haven't been able to play everybody as many minutes as we're used to.
Yeah. And, you know, you learn as you go along, right? I mean, 3 years in this, like I said, there's got to be some evolution and some growth. And we've gone through a learning curve and we've had success, right? We've 2 Western Conference finals. We've won some games, but every year you felt like, okay, we're just a couple of players away from really winning this or really doing something serious. And every year we've added a couple, right, of the right players in the right areas, and we've kept a core. And, you know, the nature of the game is you move people out, you bring people in, and we've done that. And I think we've done a good job of that. And you're seeing a group now that we believe can really do some damage top to bottom. The quality's there, the belief's there, the determination's there. But it's a group that's been put together over 3 years and learning and understanding what this league is all about.
You mentioned the locker room also, how tight they are. That's got to be so important, knowing that this group gets along so well on and off the pitch.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they're friends and there's a respect between every single one of them. I mean, it's almost a 50-50 split in terms of, you know, you've got the Latin American players, the Hispanic players, and then you've got a big European contingent and you got some Americans in there. So it's a nice mix, but even though there's some language barriers, 1 or 2 guys, the respect level and the love they have for one another, you see in these goal celebrations, right? And off the field, they hang out and, you know, they enjoy coming to work every day in the locker room and sitting with each other and talking and competing with each other and trying to make each other better. So there's no selfish people in the locker room, right? Everyone in there is willing to just put the guy next to him first and do what it takes to help the guy next to him. And that's why you're seeing the success right now.
That Maris goal we just watched right now, as you watch Dylan's performance on that shot, is that just a tricky shot because it didn't look like it had any chance to find the net, and it did just that? Break that one down for us a little bit as we saw the replay and how that went in.
Yeah, they're the most difficult ones for goalkeepers, actually, because you see when the ball gets kicked, a lot of traffic running in front of the goalkeeper, you know, white shirts and blue shirts making that run in front. And the goalkeeper doesn't know if someone's going to get a touch on it. So he's waiting for a player to get a touch on it. And if it doesn't, it just ends up going through. So it's important to put those ones on target. If you put those on frame and it misses everybody out, there's a very good chance it's going in because the goalie can't react because he's got a lot of traffic in front of him. He's expecting one of the players to head the ball or get a touch in it. So he's waiting for that deflection to react to that. So invariably, more often than not, those things go through and go all the way into the bottom corner. So it's important for Dylan in that situation to put it on frame, and that gives you a great chance. All
right, we're about midway through the Mark Lowry Show. Again, if you've got questions, and I've got a couple coming in on Twitter, send it to us at 600 ESPN El Paso, and we'll read those on the air. In the meantime, let's get right back to Adrian, and he's got a bottom of the hour Sports Center update. Be back in 2 minutes with more as we continue on the program. All right, as we roll back through, let's get right back to Coach Lowry and continue with our discussion and get our first question on Twitter during the Mark Lowry hour. This is a good one. You'll like this, Coach. This comes from Poncho. He wants to know, does Coach Lowry watch the Ted Lasso series?
I haven't seen it yet, but I want to. It's on my list of things to watch because I've heard very good things about it. So I'm I'm excited to get to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet. No.
I was going to say, do you actually have time to watch anything during the season? Like, do you have any opportunities to break away from this? And are there any shows you enjoy watching right now?
In the evening, before we go to sleep, me and my wife will lay down or sit down and watch it. That's kind of our quiet time together after the kids go to bed, and I get to relax a little bit before we wake up at like 5:30 a.m. the next morning. But we do like to watch some shows. We're a big Yellowstone fan, so Yellowstone, when that was on a few months ago, that was good. We're waiting for the next season to come out. But that was one of our favorites.
Okay, so there you go. So before we get to Ted Lasso, we got Yellowstone right now for Mark. So you would recommend Yellowstone. I have not seen Yellowstone yet. You say definitely something to watch.
Very good show. You'll enjoy it, Steve.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. That's excellent. By the way, as I look at the standings right now, you finally caught up. It seems like you've had so many games in hand all year long. You still are a game short of Rio Grande Valley FC and San Antonio FC, but for the most part, outside of Real Monarchs, who have played 18, a lot of the other clubs have played 16. So it's taken a few months, but you finally got to the point now where you're pretty much where you need to be. And how good does it feel to know you still have a 9-point cushion over RGV and then 13 points over both Colorado Springs and San Antonio?
Yeah, it's a good position to be in. And we had those, 2, 3, 4 games in hand on these teams for a while. And we had a good amount of points on the board. We were still towards the top, but games in hand only means something if you win them. Everyone says, I would love to have some games in hand, but the most difficult thing is winning a game of football, right? So points on the board are usually the most valuable thing. But fortunately for us, over this last 2 weeks, where we kind of built up these games, we managed to win them, which has kind of created this gap, as you see now, between us and second, and then the rest of the group underneath that. So winning games in hand is easier said than done, but we managed to do it, and it's put us in a nice spot.
Absolutely right. And by the way, as we've seen the first 2 seasons in the playoffs, you want to host every game if you can. So the most important thing about winning all these matches and piling up 3 points after 3 points is that when it comes to playoff time, if the road to the championship can go through Southwest University Park, that is such a big advantage for you and your club.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of our goals, right? The smaller goals, let's win the Copa Tejas, right? Let's be the best team in Texas. And then let's win the Mountain Division. And then let's get the most amount of points in the West. And let's get the most amount of points to hold the USL. So you have this checklist of goals and objectives you fight for every day. And, we've put ourselves in a position right now where we can start looking at, we've got to keep these points going because we want to get number 1 seeding now, because playoff games are tough. Form goes out the window. Quality goes out the window. A lot of times that home field advantage can be the difference in playoff games, as we've seen in all sports. So we want those games at Southwest University Park because, as we have a great record there anyway, and we want to continue that.
When you're hot like this, is it tough having a week off between matches? Do you almost say to yourself, you want to keep playing Wednesdays and Saturdays just because the momentum is there right now that you don't want it? You don't want to wait those extra, few days between matches?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We spoke about that today in the office. We were like, we've been so used these past 2 weeks of like play a game and the next morning you're back in preparing for the next game because it's 2 days away, 3 days away. You just get in this routine and in the zone of playing and performing and executing. And the guys have obviously won those games. So when you win them, you just want to keep going. And yeah, so I do believe in that a little bit. I kind of want to play again tomorrow with this group because we're in good form, we're in good confidence, and we've got that momentum, like you said, that can carry us through. So now we have a full week. It's like, well, okay, there's a little bit of a lull now over the next couple of days before once Thursday morning rolls around, the guys start to now start to think about the game because it's only 48 hours away. But this early part of the week, you're trying to train and get better, but you don't want anyone to get hurt or go too hard early in the week. So you're in this holding pattern of, let's get close to the game so we can start getting excited again.
Hey, I saw this video. I loved it. It was on your social media channel when you guys were in a hotel getting ready for a road match. And you were in it looked like a conference room playing a small ball game where you're all standing around a circle. And it was the idea, I guess, not letting the ball drop. This looked like it was pretty competitive stuff and the guys are having a really good time. Tell me about it.
Yeah, every away game we do those things. We call it activation, after a team meeting. kind of midday team meeting that we have. We do an activation with the guys, and it used to be more of a stretch and a roll, and you get in the gym for 10 minutes, just get the blood circulating a little bit. But now it's turned into more of a mental activation where we get the guys in good spirits and they compete. They have some fun with the ball. We play little games with them, 2 teams competing against each other, and it gets competitive, and it's hilarious. And they work a little bit of sweat up, but not too much. And I think it's so enjoyable that the guys kind of forget that they're at work and they get to enjoy a moment. And mentally, I think it puts them in good spirits then to go and perform that evening.
Again, it just goes to show you how this team gets along so well and how they enjoy those kind of activities, which brings me to my next question. Because of the depth and the fact that you've got a team that pretty much are all guys capable of playing big minutes and doing big things, has the opportunity to buy into what you're doing, especially for some guys that are used to getting more minutes and seeing more opportunities. Has that been something that for you, it took a while, or did you feel that these guys pretty much all bought into the common goal right out of the gate and have kind of sacrificed maybe some production and to some extent some ego for the greater good and to be on this team, which has been so good?
Yeah, I think it's about the type of characters you have in the locker room, Steve. It's not easy for us as human beings to sacrifice for someone else. That's not in our nature. But when you got good characters in the locker room that understand what the common goal is, that it is easier. It's difficult for me. I love all of them. I want them all to play and all score and all do well and all get the accolades. But I can only pick 11 for each game and 18 in the squads. There's even a couple of guys left out of the 18 on most weeks, so it's difficult. And that's the hardest part of my job is doing that, because I know how desperate they're all to play and they want to be out there with their teammates competing and fighting for the cause. But I tell them, well, it'll be your turn next week, right? It's these guys' turn this week. In a few days' time, it'll be yours. Just be patient, stick with it. But we got such a great group of guys. They understand that. They're never happy about it, but they receive it in a great way, and that they want their teammates to do well. So no matter if they're on the field or not, they want the team to win.
Coach, I got one more segment with you. We'll come back. We'll preview the New Mexico match this weekend and talk a little more about upcoming games. So stay with us, folks. We'll keep things moving on the Mark Lowry Show as Sports Talk continues right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. It's the Mark Lowry Show. I'm Steve Kaplowitz, joined by head coach technical director Mark Lowry. All right, Coach, let's get to some of the questions coming in on the Locomotive Facebook page, and it's really interesting. I saw Efren asking about local players over the 3 seasons, and then Joseph Torres was quick to point out that between Chapa Herrera, Javier Becker, Ricardo Zacharias, Memo Diaz, and Jose Aaron Gomez, those are all players from either El Paso or Juarez that have been part of this club over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's right. And right now, Memo's not on the roster right now, but Chapa, Ricardo Zacharias, Javier Beck, Aaron Gomez, these are all born and raised in the local area. So I'm not sure how many more local players we can have on the team, but those guys are great for us. We love them, and they're definitely helping us right now.
I know also during the preseason, you had a lot of youngsters coming through and getting a lot of minutes that were impressing you. We're talking 16, 17-year-olds that were showing that in a couple of years, they could easily be belonging on this team. Yeah,
and just 2 weeks ago in New Mexico, we had Joel Maldonado, an academy player on the bench for us in the 18. Joel's from Las Cruces, from the area here. So we're keeping our eye on them. We've got a great academy set up now. The academy team's doing great, and those guys come and train with us quite often, and we're keeping an eye on these, young 16, 17-year-olds as the next batch coming through.
I love it. I think that's exactly what it's all about. And again, that's, it shows you what you've been able to do with this club. And that's phenomenal. Another question came in on the Facebook chat, and I was asking about your lineup coming up against New Mexico this weekend. And will you be throwing a pretty aggressive group out there against United?
We're going to pick an 18 to go win the game. I think it's important to note that the game's played over 90 minutes, and we want to start the game well and end the game well. And you have to end the game well with having the right people coming off the bench as well. So we'll pick a balanced lineup. New Mexico offer you problems on set pieces, so we need to be physical. We need to line up with, a little bit of height in it to deal with those moments. So that does change things a little bit, but it'll be a lineup we think can go win the game at the start, and also guys that can come off the bench and help us win the game in the last 10, 15 minutes. So the players we have right now, I don't think I could not pick an aggressive lineup because the names that will be on the team sheet because of the guys that we have are attacking players. So it's going to be a difficult lineup to pick because everyone's playing well and everyone's healthy, but it'll be an 18 player match day squad that we believe can go to New Mexico and win.
Looking ahead, Coach, you're going to be playing a lot of weekly matches and not necessarily 2 matches in a week like we've seen for so long, because you've got RGV coming up a week from Saturday here at home, and then you're at San Antonio the following week, and then at Orange County that Friday, September the 3rd. So, we're not going to get 2 matches like we've had. And instead, I think, just the more of the traditional weekly match, which obviously means for you, that difficult choice to go with your best 11, but also keep the guys sharp because you're only going to be playing once a week from here on out for about the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, picking an 11, but also, like you said, there has to be rotation because I can't have some of these guys going 3-4 weeks without playing. We need every one of them sharp come playoff time, come October when we have that backlog of games, 9 games in 30 days in October. So I need these guys to be sharp. So there'll be rotation because, like I said, I can't have some of these guys going 3-4 weeks without playing because that will hurt us down the road.
What I guess maybe the unsung heroes during this stretch is probably your training staff and medical staff, keeping all these guys in such great shape as you've gone through this grind of the schedule here this summer.
Yeah, and that's something the backroom staff that people don't really see. These guys that don't have a day off when we have a stretch like we just had. The players work hard. That's what people see. They're the ones running around, but the athletic trainer and the equipment staff, they're working every single day. If they're not, getting gear ready, they're washing it for the next day and making sure the players have what they need. And a lot of recovery needs to happen. So the athletic trainer gets put through the grinder with the massage and all the recovery stuff. So it's been a difficult stretch, but everyone's been great. And I think when you're winning, it makes everyone's job a little bit more fun.
Last time you played in Albuquerque, it was a scoreless draw. It was a tough game because their style is I won't say it's frustrating, but it's hard to break through at times the way they play. So how do you try to change that this Saturday and keep those goals coming the way you have with United's, with United's defense and their style?
Yeah, I mean, they're a physical team. They're a big, strong team that make it difficult. But I think the biggest issue there is the field. It's not easy to play on. The grass is very long and the conversion is not as good as what we have. So it makes it very difficult to play on. So the games become a little bit of a slug. It's almost like playing in sand. Hard to run on, the ball moves slow. So I think that's the biggest hurdle that we have. It's managing the external conditions there. They'll have a full house, 10,000 people that we have to kind of come through and be resilient with. But it's the field, really. We have to adapt, not our style necessarily, but, where we play and what type of passes we play, because it's a very difficult field to play on.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to it. Congratulations on what has been such a great season so far. Let's keep it rolling with Saturday night's match in New Mexico before you come back home for RGV. And hey, it's been great to actually do this again. I'm excited because now we can start getting back into our groove a little bit with games, giving us a little Tuesday chance to talk. And hopefully we'll see you face-to-face in person the next time out, Coach.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having us again. Enjoyed it.
You bet. That's Mark Lowry, folks, on the Mark Lowry Show talking El Paso Locomotive FC soccer.